Um, to this evening, Black Business Rising, part of what we've been doing for the last week and a half. This evening's topic is how to certify your business with the city of Austin. And we have a featured speaker, presenter Sandra Fabian-Ramirez with the city of Austin Small Minority Business Resource Department. Ms. Ramirez joined the Small and Minority Business Resource Department certification team in May of 2020. She comes to the city of Austin with many years of business development and project management experience during her tenure with the Small Minority Business opportunity to meet with entrepreneurs and hear how their hard work and following their dreams have allowed them to become successful business owners. And without any further ado, I'll allow Sandra to go ahead and fill us in and make some further introductions of herself and the presentation today.
Great. Thank you, Bill, for the introduction. And thank you all for joining this evening to Certification 101 Minority Business Resource Department. We're going to be talking about how to certify your small business. I also have on the line with me Elton Price. He is the certification supervisor, and he'll be helping out with any questions that we may have going along the presentation. Okay, great. Let's get started. We have a few objectives today for our presentation. First, we're going to be discussing what is certification, the benefits of being certified. We'll talk about the different certification types offered by the city of Austin. We'll go over some requirements for each certification. And then everybody wants to know, how do we get started? So we will jump right into it, and there'll be some additional information for you going along the way. And at the conclude of my presentation, we'll have some time for some question and answers. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can enter them in the chat, and at the end, we'll address each question individually. So certification is how we determine if a business owner is eligible to participate in the MBE and the WBE, which is minority-owned and women-owned business. BBE and ACBBE, which is the disadvantaged business enterprise, and the airport concession disadvantaged business enterprise. We verify that the business and the owners are eligible by complying with the ordinances, the city codes. We'll review application, supporting documents, and we also have site visits as well. Being certified with the city of Austin encourages minority and women-owned firms to participate in city and federal contracts, and they're established special procurement goals for each. These goals are going to differ from contract to contract. They're going to be based on the different type of contract, availability of the certified firms to perform each contract, and there's some other factors that we look at as well. So now we'll talk about the benefits of certification. Being certified enhances procurement opportunities, and it increases visibility for the certified firms. The firm will be listed on the City of Austin's availability certified vendor on the Small and Minority Business Resource website, and the DBE is also listed on the TUCP website as well. And then, of course, there's no cost at all to the applicant to get certified. There's no cost for assistance to help complete the application. There's no cost at all to be certified. That's usually one of the first questions is, how much is it going to cost? And another benefit to being certified is that the prime contractors are required to solicit the certified firms to meet their program goals. So that means they will reach out to the certified firms when there's an opportunity available and make sure that you are aware of the solicitation that's out. The City of Austin certification is also recognized by other government entities, and we also make a recommendation for hub certification with the State Comptroller's Office. The certifications, they're recognized all over the state of Texas.
Where is he going?
And they are recognized for federal funds. I'm sorry, if you can put your mute buttons, please. So now we'll go into the different certifications that are offered by the City of Austin. So we'll start with the local projects. The Minority Owned Business Enterprise, also known as MBE, and the WBE, which is the Woman Owned Business Enterprise. These are certifications that are funded by the City of Austin. There is a PNW, a personal net worth limit of 1.697 million to qualify for these certifications. And there may also be a site visit that's required. It just depends on the scope of work for the certified firm. If you're a trucking company, a construction company, you will have a site visit because we want to verify your equipment, that it is available when you receive a contract with the City of Austin for those type of companies. There's also the SBE with the City of Austin that you can apply for, and there is no PNW limit. Now we'll talk about the two federal funded certifications. That's the DBE and the ACDBE. The DBE and the ACDBE has a personal net worth limit of 1.32 million. For both projects, certifications, the DBE and the ACDBE, and there is a site visit that is required for all new DBE and ACDBE applications. So now we'll go straight into the requirements. For the MBE and the WBE certification, the firm must be a for-profit small business as defined by the SBA guidelines. The business must be owned at least 51% by a socially and an economically disadvantaged individual. We will confirm that this individual has managed and control of the day-to-day business operation. The owner must be a U.S. citizen or legally admitted resident. We also look to find out if the owner has the experience directly related to the firm's primary scope of work. We'll look at resume and contracts that the firm has performed to verify that experience. One of the last requirements is you must have a facility with resources located in Texas for at least 90 days prior to submitting your application. So the next question is, who is considered socially disadvantaged? A socially disadvantaged person is somebody who belongs in one of the following presumed groups: Asian American, African American, and women-owned businesses. Individuals that are in not one of these presumed groups, they're still eligible to be certified. We just look at their socially disadvantaged status individually. It's on a case-by-case basis. Also, economically disadvantaged is another qualification that we look at. So to be economically disadvantaged, You cannot have a personal net worth, a PNW, that exceeds 1.697 million for the local MBE and WBE certifications, and 1.32 million for the DBE and the ACDBE. This is your PNW, your personal net worth, and we only look at the applicant's share of all assets. So there's a couple of things that we exclude on the W. We are going to exclude community property that's held by the applicant's spouse. And we're only going to look at what is yours separately. So if you're married, it would be just your portion that you want to include. You do not want to include your primary residence or the applicant firm ownership interest. We also exclude tax and interest penalties for retirement, savings, and investment. We're only looking at the amount that would be distributed at the present time. Those are some of the questions on the PNW, so we like to go over what's excluded. So we'll go over some of the supporting documents that we'll look for with the application as well as the PNW. We look for some personal information on the owner. We look at the resume for the owner and any key staff board members that the company may hold, the personal net worth. There's also an alternate personal net worth that you can submit as well. We are going to look at personal tax returns for the owner, proof of citizenship. So that would be any legal residency cards that you may have. And we also look at any professional licenses that are owned by the owner as well. We're going to look at 5 years business tax returns and some other information on the business side is the bank signature card. We want to see who the authorized signatures are for the business accounts. Any company documents that talks about the structure of your company. We want to get a copy of your lease agreement and current payments or a home tax statement if you own the property or buying. And we also ask for proof of contributions to acquire ownership, which means how the business and what they paid for their ownership interest. And then we'll also ask for an equipment list, supply list, contracts, invoices, all of that good stuff to verify the type of work that you are providing and asking to be certified in. So now we'll talk a little bit about the DBE and the ACDBE programs. The ACDB and the DBE is used for federally funded projects. And this is by the US Department of Transportation. So that could be the aviation, highways, and public transportation departments as well. The city of Austin is part of the TUCP, which is the Texas Unified Certification Program. And the city of Austin is responsible for certifying businesses that are in these 5 counties: Travis County, Bastrop County, Williamson County, Hayes County, and Caldwell. Used for airport federal funds. So this is airport concessionaires, firms that want to do business with the airport. That's called the ACDBE certification. The ACDBE program is funded by, and the following airports participate in the ACDBE program. It's the Austin Bergstrom Airport, Dallas Fort Worth, Dallas Love Field, Houston Bush, Houston Hobby, and all major airports in Texas. So the city of Austin also has a small business enterprise certification, And this is for the small business construction program. So some of the qualifications is you must be a small business with the subsector of your specialty trade in construction. Gross receipts must not exceed 16.5 million. And the owner must complete an affidavit attesting that they do meet the size standard. And then we do want to see the owner's resume to verify that they do have construction experience. So the small business construction program, this is an effort between SMBR and the Capital Contracting Office that was established in 2011. It was designed for construction projects that are funded by the city of Austin that are under $50,000. And this program is race and gender neutral, which means it doesn't matter about your minority status or if it's a woman-owned business. We just look to see if you are a construction trade and you meet the qualifications of being under that 16.5 million. So the question everybody always has is, how do we get started, right? The first thing that you want to do is register your business with the City of Austin Purchasing. This is called Vendor Connection, and it's at austintexas.gov finance online. And this is where you would go to register your business to be a certified vendor with the City of Austin. You will send in information about your company structure, like your W-9, information about in your minority status. Once you have your City of Austin vendor profile, you will be able to receive solicitations from the vendor portal once you enter some of the commodity codes and scope of work that you would like to get notifications for. So once you've done that first step of becoming a vendor, letting the City of Austin know projects that you want to be working on, then you're ready to complete an application and request to be certified with SMBR, Small Department. And you can do that by uploading the documents at the SMBR's CCS website, which is at austintexas.mwdbe.com. So I have a couple of contact numbers here. My name is Sandra, and my number is 512-974-7735. That's my direct number. You can call me anytime if you have any questions on any of the qualifications, the requirements, or even getting started that we just talked about. Here's also some other helpful links that we can give as well on the slideshow. Small and minority business resource. There is the purchasing database. There's information where you can go to get solicitations. You can look up your primary industry codes, size standards. So this helpful links information will be on the slideshow for whoever wants them. So now we get to the part to find out if anybody has any questions. You can put your questions in the chat, or you can ask them online.
Good evening, everyone. Elton Price Sandra, there's a question in the chat. Can you be certified if you've been in business less than a year?
Yes. So the requirement is 90 days, and we do verify that you have a business location and resources at least 90 days in the state of Texas. So if you've been in business for a year, to go. I see another question. How can being certified help someone in the real estate industry? So we have commodity codes that you go and you enter. These codes are scope of work that you're saying that your company performs. These scope of work is what allows you to get notifications. So if you're in the real estate business, you want to specifically look for commodity codes and solicitations.
Also, I'd like to add, Sandra, to that. Here in real estate, the city of Austin has a real estate division, and how you could become involved in that is when we're going out to city of Austin recruits for employees. So a lot of times that particular scope of work is subcontracted to real estate companies to go out and find places or homes where these folks who decide to relocate to Austin. There could be executives that hires, and we use real estate companies to assist with the relocation of employees when we're recruiting.
Right. And Mr. Price, just a follow-up question on that. There a contact person that someone that was interested in examining possibilities for real estate to contact? I know Sandra listed a host of names earlier on a spreadsheet with phone numbers. Is one of those people available to possibly be a resource moving forward?
Sure, we can get that and get the real estate division's contact information so that whoever posed that question can follow up and with someone in that division and talk a little bit about opportunities that lie with that particular division with the city of Austin. And a couple other things real quick that I just want to clarify a little bit of registration, and Revy Creighton is online if there's any questions about registration. Sandra mentioned registering and having the correct commodity codes. Can't stress enough how important that is to your profile. Information. We can't stress enough how once you become certified, it's so important to maintain correct contact information, because it doesn't do a firm any good to be certified if no one can contact you for possibly contracting with the city of Austin. So it's very, very important that anytime you change phone number, email, that once you register, you contact Revy's team to update that information, or go online and update that information yourself. The other important thing with our department is certification is online now. No more paper applications. You can apply from the comfort of your home and complete the application, upload all required documents. And we've seen a vast improvement in the certification process with our online certification. So that's been in place since January of 2020. And it's been just certified quickly in the documents that, and they're not subject to any Open Records Act. I know that we require several documents to verify that you meet the criteria, but it's just that we just want folks who are interested in the program, that are qualified, to make sure that when folks come in to become certified with the city of Austin, they meet criteria. We don't want folks, once we certify them, we don't want folks challenging that and coming back and saying this company is a front company and they're not, the representative who put themselves up as the owner is not really the owner. So we go through a lot of detail to try to make sure the companies meet the qualification to be certified here with the city of Austin.
Good deal. And just for a second, I want to back up again because we're actually and Sandra kind of transitioned us into the second part of this session where it's an open panel. And to do everyone justice, I would like to again introduce Sandra Fabian-Ramirez with the City of Austin Small and Minority Business Resources, Elton Price, City of Austin Small and Minority Business Resources, as well as Reve Freight, the City of Austin Financial Services Department. And they'll be handling most of the answers that we have today. And so if you are just joining us or have joined us midpoint sometime, feel free to either ask your question aloud or to add it to the chat. And I know that myself, Mr. Price and Ms. Ramirez, Ms. Creighton are watching the chat for questions. I will go ahead and intervene with a couple of questions now, especially as it relates to the accessibility of mentorship type models. Because a lot of these Black businesses are first generational. They are new to the industry, small in scope, and don't have a lot of resources. So my first question, and I guess I'll nail this one to you, Mr. Price, is once someone is certified, are there any handrails in place to walk them into their first successful bid?
Has always been a barrier that I've seen here with the City of Austin. At one point, we had contracts with what we call service providers and that's folks who contract with the city to help small business owners navigate things like bidding. If there's a legal obstacle, and they would, have access to attorneys and things like that. So once you get certified here with the City of Austin, we don't have the city itself doesn't have a arm that helps with bidding directly. We have, like I said, we have service providers in place for each ethnicity to assist with getting folks, their members, because it's usually reserved for members, and getting that bidding information to them. We also, hopefully the chambers assist with that, but there's nothing per se with the City of Austin that helps with bidding. Now we do, if a bid comes in and you're unsuccessful, we assist on the back end with opportunities to come in, talk to, for example, the purchasing office or the capital contracting office. You can also have open records to bids that were, and Revit can help me out with this, bids that were solicited in the past that were successful. If you come in and provide an open records request, you can see those particular bids and see who were successful, what was bidding, and then kind of, if you want to tailor your bid to those, to that information, you can. Specifically, the City of Austin does not have a bidding type where you can come in and say, I want to bid this project. I have no idea the square footage. If I'm in, for example, janitorial, usually you bid by the square footage, and but the city just doesn't have that. We depend on contract with to provide those type services to their members.
Thank you for that, Mr. Price. And I'll pass this one to Sandra. I think she just maybe got off screen. Or maybe you can answer it as well. Are there any resources available to help bid winners, like someone who may have actually won a bid, to make sure that they are in compliance with the contract requirements? So you win a bid and with the city, but to make sure that you are following through with it, are any resources once they win a bid the first time, so to make sure that they are in compliance with that bid and able to continue doing business with the city?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. So our department is responsible for any contracts that are someone bids on that has participation goals, minority and women or DBE goals. And so we are responsible for making sure those compliance plans goals or have good faith efforts. And so that's specifically for us. So when a bidder comes in or someone bids on a contract with goals, we have a compliance team that looks at all contracts with goals and make sure that the bidders are responding. They are either meeting the goals or made good faith efforts. So we provide all of the list of the certified vendors based on the scopes of work and verify that they've been contacted to see if they've been negotiated in good faith. And so when those compliance plans come in, our office is responsible for making sure that those bids meet the requirements of not only the MWBE program, but also the federal program. Also, if it's contracts that has no goals, that goes to our purchasing office or our capital contracting office, and they follow the apparent winners of the bid to make sure that they're following through with the contract requirements. Of course, there are sanctions in place by the city of Austin if someone that is on a contract and doesn't follow through with the requirements of the contract. They could be sanctioned, a lot of things that could happen on the contract if folks are not following up with the requirements. We, of course, try to make sure that, if someone is on a contract that is completed, it's completed in time and in the budget, within budget. So we try to make sure that we give all avenues to try to get that contract before there's remedies such as removing people for contracts or barring people from doing work with the city.
Okay, and maybe this one can be for Revate, or whomever is best to answer this question here, and it's from the chat. Is there a way to develop or revitalize workshops that revolve around in helping businesses not only make sure they're working with codes, but that they've doubled down on the understanding due to these fundamental workshops?
Yes, so I have an answer for that. The city has developed a couple of different videos, kind of how-to videos. And so we have a how-to video on how to select your commodity codes. And we can definitely shoot that website with those videos to Tyra and to Terry to share. Okay,
and Sandra, to follow up on that question as well. So with those videos, individual watch those videos, they go through, they select some NAICS codes for themselves, do these videos really double down on the type of codes that the contractors themselves are using? For example, you meant one person, I think Elton mentioned janitorial earlier. So one code might say janitorial, one may say cleaning, or have something to do with debris or whatnot. Now, all three of these codes are very similar, but the standard one for the industry may exist that pretty much everybody generally uses. And, we don't want anybody to choose one of the other two codes that is rarely used, so they're not getting informed that there's bid opportunities. Is there a way for small business owners to be able to be walked through the process of making sure that they're choosing the best code and not just one that describes what they do?
May I take
Sure.
that one? All right. So I think the best bet for that, rather than a workshop, really is a one-on-one. So if you call me or my team, we can walk you through selecting those commodity codes, and we'll go into our database and verify that those are the codes that have been used on the contracts. We can really spend time with the different businesses to help them find those codes that they need and make sure that they're the ones that have been used in the past. I found that hard to do in workshops because you'll have so many different types of businesses. But if it is a one-on-one, then it's fairly easy to kind of help and guide in what code should be chosen.
Perfect.
Follow up real quick from Bill, real quick. And that's why it's important, usually when we're doing workshops, we always invite Revit because they go hand in hand. It's no good to be certified if you're not in the right codes. You can be certified and not getting opportunities because you don't have the right code selected. And so it's for us, when we give workshops, we always invite Reve or her team, so someone on her team, because the registration and certification go hand in hand. And when we're talking NAICS code, that's a little bit different from the city. The city procures under NIGP code. So NIGP codes is a little bit more specific, and I'll give a quick example. NAICS code say, I'm a professional engineer, I want engineering services. NIGP code say structural, electrical engineering. So NIGP is a lot more specific than NAICS. NAICS is federal projects, pretty much. NIGP is City of Austin. So when Reve comes and registers you for certification, for registration for a vendor with the city, she's going to talk to you about NIGP codes because that's what the City of Austin procures on.
Good deal. And I want to circle around to earlier, Elton, you mentioned good faith. Can we have a definition, I guess, from the City of Austin on like what's good faith when we talked about those individuals who win contracts and making sure that they're in compliance, therefore, afterwards?
So the program itself is not a quota, and that's what I usually try to say. It is goal-based. So when we say we have goals, yes, we want everybody to meet the goals. But for example, if we have 10 vendors in a particular scope of work, and we send, and as I state, SMBR gives those 10 vendors to folks who are bidding that particular contract. If all 10 are already contracted and saying, hey, we can't do the City of Austin job, then the prime contractor is not punished, or the person who's bidding with the city is not punished because everybody who we gave them, because we certified and we gave them a list of 10 contractors that are certified in a particular scope of work, but none of them can at that point do the job. So we don't punish them for that. So good faith efforts would be, I gave you 10 contractors, you contacted all 10, and for whatever reason, they couldn't be used, or, but the reasons have to be something that we can verify. Our department, like I said, we have a compliance department that goes out and verifies every contract goes. And so for us, that would be good faith effort. So those guys go through all good faith efforts to make sure that folks would contact this good faith message or information that we receive on this good faith is warranted. That we contacted them, they said they were busy with 2 other contracts. They couldn't bid on this particular. They're on the list, and for whatever reason, they don't have equipment to do this work at this particular time. So it's not like they get punished for not being able to meet goals if indeed they've done everything we've requested of them based on the regulations and the requirements of the program. So they've made good faith efforts to contact all of the vendors that were on our list, and that rarely helps. I'm just going to the extreme with this analogy here, but if there's no one that can do the work, then that's good faith efforts. They've documented it, they've contacted everybody, and we give them 3 forms of how you need to contact those, because you just can't even. I've made good faith efforts. We give them 3 ways that they have to contact the vendors, the compliance team, and they verify those. And so that's good faith.
And the reason why I ask, and Elton, I'm not here to like hold your feet to the fire on this issue, but things that I know that you mentioned was that it's important to keep your contact information updated. And from reading some comments off in the chat, I think that that other people may feel the same way, that well, these primes will probably know who's not going to answer emails or who don't answer phones or who's never available, and kind of stick with those people when they're reaching out. And so, to combat that, I guess the question is, can the city of Austin, or does the city of Austin have a mentor-mentee model matching primes and subs, or is it a possibility to adopt the mentor-mentee model matching primes with subs with a cultural competency type of approach, knowing that these are minority-owned businesses? So it might a woman in a male-dominated field, or some other a discrepancy.
Yeah. So the city of Austin doesn't have a mentor protege program. That's something it's been brought up. We have a procurement working group that the city manager charged with stakeholders, our department, purchasing, contract compliance, to get with stakeholders, and we've been meeting now for a year. And that's one thing that has been brought up on several occasions, is trying to establish a mentor protege type program. Again, we had one in the past that was not specifically run by the city. It was, I think, run by the Hub type program, but it was in our area, and it included the city of Austin certified vendors. So we don't have one in place. It is a good model, I believe. Personally, I believe that. There is nothing in the program requirements or rules that would, that type of situation in contracting, because that was one of the things that we thought was a great idea when it was established by the state, is that it allows folks to contract. You don't penalize primes. The only negative we used to hear a lot about is that it didn't give others, other minority and women-owned vendors an opportunity if the mentee is always using the same. And we still hear that. We still hear that it's hard at times where folks use the same certified vendors. And it's hard for newly certified firms to break in to that network because folks use, a lot of times on contracts, folks use the same vendors that they're comfortable with. So that is something that we're trying to figure out how we get more certified firms involved in contracting.
And because you mentioned that you guys kind of dig through tooth and nail with a fine tooth comb, rather, to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. I want to know how, by doing that, are you able to better assist like newly certified firms, with the thought that I think last year when we did this, maybe 20 or so minority businesses signed up and were certified, but not very many of them actually won a contract in the last year with the city. So how does that, what are you guys doing through the newly certified vendors through to make sure that they understand the next steps?
Well, that's a difficult task because if a prime contractor is meeting or providing good faith efforts to us to use minority and women-owned vendors, the program itself doesn't say that you have to diversify the usage of minority and women-owned firms, unfortunately. What we're trying to do is look at the trends and look at how this department in purchasing and how we can help vendors. And when I say help vendors, help certified vendors to, one, understand that they're, even getting certified is not a guarantee that there's a contract. But if we can have some incentives on the other side, for example, we have some certified firms. What can we give incentives to that prime contractor to say, okay, yes, this is a good thing. You're using a newly certified firm. You kind of went away from the firm you've always used. So those are things we're trying to think about, is come up with incentives for prime contractors to diversify the usage of minority and women-owned vendors. And that's been one of the issues that we've seen for a long time, is newly certified firms not receiving contracts as frequently as firms who've been in the program, established relationships. It's been something that we've struggled with for a long time. Now, it is, like I said, it is something we were trying to look at, and we've been going out looking at other entities and see how, if indeed that is happening in different areas. But I can tell you, going to different trainings, in different areas, and seeing folks who provide services like the city of Austin, it's an issue all over the country where certain firms get opportunities on contracts because they've established relationships. And that's why it's important, I think, that the city of Austin start providing once. We used to provide this every month. We used to provide workshops to facilitate relationships with prime. So meeting the prime was one of the ones that come to my mind off the top of my head, where we, the SMBR facilitated those type workshops so that we can hopefully get primes, subcontractors, City of Austin departments in the same room, and put the faces with these firms so that folks can meet each other and hopefully facilitate these the relationships, because all business is built on relationships, as everyone knows. And so getting in front of those folks, trying to make sure they know who you are, what services you provide is very important.
Good deal. I do want to yield the audience if there's any questions for any of the panelists, Price or Sandra. Feel free to ask those questions. Now is the opportunity to do so. And while they're thinking of other questions, one of the things that I'm interested. I'm sorry. Did someone have a question? Good deal. So with the city, into the chat, several links that both Sandra and Hervé have added to the chat on how to register your business with the city of Austin, as well as some videos and things like that from Finance Online, City of Austin. So if you guys would make sure that you're paying attention to the chat, save the chat, everyone, please, because there's a lot of useful information off in there. So just for a list that you need to know, from anybody, I want to ask everyone individually, maybe starting with should leave this session knowing, wanting to do business with the city of Austin.
So today I went over a lot of different types of certification. And I do want to mention that a business can be duly certified. So you can apply for all of the certifications that you qualify for. There's 5 different types: the MBE, the WBE, the ACDBE, the DBE, Hub, as well as the SBE. So we like to let all of the vendors know, look at the qualifications and apply for as many dual certifications as you qualify for. This will give you opportunities to participate in local, state, as well as the hub with the state of Texas, the airport, as well as the city of Austin contracts. So all of these certifications have different funding, and we just like to mention, when you apply for all of them that you qualify for.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Sandra. Hervé, if there was something, one thing that everyone who attended this session should leave with, be.
Well, I guess speaking to the whole good faith effort and the potential primes, one thing I'd like to point out is on our solicitations page, most of the solicitations that have goals attached will have a pre-bid or pre-response meeting. Sometimes they're not, but all of the potential primes typically attend those to find out information on the solicitation. And afterwards, a list of who attended is published. So if you know that a certain solicitation has some part of it that you could perform on the contract, you can proactively reach out to those primes, because I mean, Tyra's right. They probably are just calling who they're comfortable working with and have worked with before. So especially if you're certified, feel free to reach out to them and let them know that you're there and available to work with them.
Good deal. And Mr. Price, if there's one thing that you want everybody to remember or to leave with from this session, what would it be?
I usually tell all of our vendors, use the certification as a marketing tool for you, to just continue to do your business, be diligent, do the things to make you successful. The city of SMBR is going to continue to work for you once you get certified. Like I said, we're going to provide your information to those primes bidding, but get your business the way that you've always have. If you have been marketing, if you haven't, start marketing your business and develop those relationships.
Good deal. Good deal. And what I would like to add to that is once you're certified as a by the city, it also opens you up sometimes for different grant opportunities, depending on what type of business you have. And it also might also open you up to different partnerships outside of the city as well, although you were certified by the city. And the next part I want to visit, and I'm hopeful that you guys can be knowledgeable to us in this front, is being certified in a nonprofit sector. Sandra, can you speak to the process of getting certification as a nonprofit with the city of Austin?
So one of the requirements with the city of Austin is that you are a for-profit organization. So we do not certify nonprofit at this time.
Gotcha. And there's no arm of the city that deals with that?
No, not through the certification departments.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So only for-profit businesses can go through the certification process.
Correct. Yeah.
Good deal. And let's go back to the chat, make sure there's no additional questions there. I do see that there's more links in the chat. Anyone have any questions on anything that they've heard or require any additional resources that have not been mentioned so far? I want to make sure that we're doubling back down with the audience. Anything that may have been said that you need repeating or a link for in the chat?
I'd also like the certification team is always available to answer any questions about the application process, about any of the documents that are required, or any of the databases that we use to submit the application. So we have several counselors that are able to help, and you can call our number at any time, which I'll show back here again. The main number is 512-974-7645. This is the certification kind of hotline, and you'll get any one of the counselors that answer at that main number, or my direct line is 512-974-7735. And we get calls all the time, people that they go through these certification workshops. They really don't have any questions until they start digging in to the application process, finding out what documents are needed. So we completely understand there's going to be questions once you get started, and we're always available to answer those questions.
Okay, and there are certain requirements and certain things you ask for, anywhere from 2 to 5 years worth of documents in certain circumstances. Are there any exceptions to that? Like, if a person just doesn't have it or haven't been in business that long, are there any exceptions?
Well, we only want to see the gross receipts for the years that the company has been in business. So if the business has been started in 2020, then we'd want to see the 2020 and 2021 business tax return. And then, of course, we want to see personal tax returns as well. We look at affiliations of any other companies, if the owner owns any other businesses other than the applicant firm. So those may be taxes that we request as well for any other businesses owned. But
Okay.
if there's no other documents of the mandatory that are not in place, then you can let us know that those documents are not in place for your company.
To be sure about it, you're only looking to make sure that they don't exceed the personal net worth, and they won't be disqualified. Let's say if they only worked a portion of last year, and so they didn't may reflect that they only worked part of the year. That wouldn't be a reason to turn them down.
No, not all, not at all. In the personal net worth, what we look for is all assets and liabilities that are held by the applicant. So that would be anything that is owned personally, any checking accounts, savings accounts, automobiles, homes other than the primary residence. So if you have an asset that you own, we'd also like to know if you have a liability that's attached to it. If you're still making payments on that car, making payments on that house. So you would take your assets and you would subtract your liabilities, and that's how we figure out your personal net worth.
And I guess my question is, because a lot of times, we're dealing with small and minority businesses. These people may or may not, that most likely they're not at the higher echelon. And so I don't want any that doesn't have a substantial amount of network to be discouraged from filing because maybe they're not where they want to be at yet. And I just want reassurance that's not going to be what holds them back from being certified, is the fact that they don't have a lot of assets.
Not all that would not hold them back. We actually use certification as a stepping stone to build the businesses. So we have a lot of companies that are just starting out, a little bit over 90 days to a year, and they're building their business, right? They're building their revenue and their generational wealth. And so they don't have a lot to report on the personal net worth statement. The only thing that would disqualify them on the personal net worth is if they over the amount.
Yes. So you're just concerned if they go over the amount.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Sir. Yeah. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of times with small and minority businesses, what you find is someone just getting started, someone trying to find their niche, invested all they have, maybe failed 2 or 3 times before this. And so they may not be exactly where they want to be. And we don't want to discourage them from going through this process of getting certified. We do have a question in the chat. Would assets owned by other companies that are owned by the individual person be included, or does that just apply to personal assets?
So we look at all of the interest owned in all businesses by the applicant. So we would want to know if the applicant is partial owner or partner or owner of any other type of business. And we would consider that other business as an affiliate. So those affiliate businesses know what the market value of those other businesses are. So those would be considered on your PNW.
Okay, but it would only be the percentage that you own, correct?
Correct. Yes.
All right, and I just want to correctly for the person who asked the question, because I don't know their intentions. Right. So if if they're trying to get certified for company A, but they have company B, they have ownership in it, but that company owns, let's say, 2 or 3 service. Those service trucks wouldn't be on their personal network because they're owned by company B, or am I reading that wrong?
You're correct. So company assets are not considered personal assets unless they're personally owned by the individual, not the company.
Gotcha. And I hope that answered the question in the chat. We have another question in the chat. You may have already answered this, but outside of documents needed to certify, can you give an example of what is needed to qualify for bids? For example, type of information, capabilities, statements, etc. Are there organizations that can assist small minority-owned businesses that are new to the bidding process with mock bidding? It's pretty overwhelming to some of the newer businesses. You think you can speak to that, Mr. Price?
So there isn't anything here with the city. Like I was stating before, we contract with the Asian, the African American contractors, the Asian contractors, and the Hispanic Contractors Association. So we contract with those guys to assist in this particular area. But also, and I don't want to speak out of turn for the chambers, but I believe also the chambers may have some assistance in that area. But there is not an agency with bidding. Like I said, you can ask for, here with the city, you can ask for previous bids in that particular scope of work, or if you know the particular contract that's out there, you can always ask what was bid before through an open records on that, and get a general idea of what was bidded in the past on that particular contract. And hopefully that can assist you with putting together a competitive bid, because that's the other part of bidding. Of course, it has to be competitive, especially if you're in a construction type industry where it's low bid compared to requests for qualifications if you're in a professional type environment. So unfortunately, there's nothing here with the city that I can point to that says this particular agency or this particular department here with the city of Austin assists with bidding. And unfortunately, it happens on the back end. If you didn't get a bid, you can request, can I come in and talk to you about the bidding process and see who won that particular bid? But we just don't assist with putting bids together up front. We depend on other organizations to assist our business owners with that.
Okay. And is there any way that you could put those organizations maybe in a chat, or maybe you can forward them to us?
Sure, we can do that.
And also, I want to dig out from your response to that question that after the bid is won, you can call in, what happened with that bid, why I didn't win, or why did so-and-so win, and then you can kind of get maybe that mock walkthrough from the back end.
Yeah, you can call in and say who was a successful bidder, get the information on the bid, and then they can tell you if you were competitive or not, and they can give you some strategy on bidding going forward. They can, the contract compliance office or purchasing, if it was a no-goes type contract or something of that they can maybe give you some information on going forward, some strategy on how to do that. And I just saw the first to qualify for bids. I glanced over that. But to qualify is just looking at the requirements of what's required for that particular contract. If it requires certain type of equipment, bonding, insurance, those type of things usually is reserved if you're bidding as a prime. If you're a sub on a contract, rarely does you wouldn't be held to the contract by the city, because the city's contract is directly with the prime. And then the subcontractor is usually our certified vendor. Their contract, of course, is with the prime. The city usually holds the prime contractor responsible for bonding and insurance. There are rare occasions where the prime says, I want my subs to have insurance in this area, or I want them to be bonded. But normally those requirements are strictly for the prime contractor doing business with the city. And so what's needed and capability statements, there's several things that may come up, but you would have to look specifically at what's the requirements and the scope of work from the city to include that type of information, which would be, the city of Austin is big on protecting the environment and the trees and stuff. So if you're bidding on a contract that has trees and environment involved, they're going to want to know what you've done in the past in those areas to preserve those type things. Did you use recyclable materials? Those type of things would be included in the requirement in the scopes of work. And so then you would type questions.
Gotcha.
And real quick I wanted to follow up on Sandra's response and your response, Bill, on the things that we have to be consistent. And yes, we look at, for example, we have to request all required materials from every company. But if a larger company has been in business longer, they may not have the same documents or something of that nature, but we have to request it. And if they don't have it, do they still meet the requirements? That's what we have to decide. But we have to request the same information. We have to request a PNW. Sometimes we get a PNW that has $200, $300, $400, but we have to request it because it's part of the program. What we don't want is we lose the program of not being consistent. And that's the big thing. We have to be consistent. If we ask a Caucasian-owned firm for these documents, we have to ask a mom and pop owned company the same for the same documents. So, but if they don't have it, and we see this a lot, someone may say, well, I don't have a balance sheet, or I don't have a bank statement. Okay, we don't want you making up things to meet the requirement. But if it's not there, then it's up to our team to decide. They don't have a lease agreement, they don't have a bank statement. Is this firm still minority or woman owned? And we have to make that decision. And then we write a justification of why we made the decision to certify the company, even though they didn't have a certain document. So that's something that, we just try to be consistent with the acts. And then we decide from there if this company still meets criteria, even if they don't have a certain document.
Thank you. Thank you, Elton, for that clarification. And I think that's going to help a lot of people, because one of the things that do prevent people from filing is the fact that they may or may not have documentation. and might be missing just one piece. So to know that, go ahead, submit everything else, and submit your justification, and answer any questions surrounding it, and possibly you can still get certified. So I think that that's very encouraging, and I'm glad that everyone is able to hear that. Learned by things that kind of go wrong or whatever. We call those life lessons. So I'll ask the panelists this. What mistake do you most often see with individuals trying to get certified in the process? What mistake? And I'll start with you, Elton.
Take myself off mute. I think the thing that I see the most is we have a lot of great entrepreneurs out there who know their work and know all of the technical aspects of it. I think there are times when we just don't do as good a job as, we know our scopes and we know the how to do it, the technical aspects of it, but we don't keep our books, or we don't do certain things in the office that lends itself to running the business smoothly. So I would say, I see that a lot where this business is thriving, it seems like. But then when you ask for certain documents to be certified, those are not there, or things that you would think that should be there isn't. And it's because the business owners are so out there running their business, doing the things that need to be successful. And then they don't have the opportunity, or they haven't hired someone to really take care of things like the paperwork, or like billing and things of that nature. Because one of the things that's very important, and I know Revy can speak to this, is if you're billing a certain way and we don't have you registered that way, that's going to hold up payment. So for example, if you're doing business as you have a DBA, but you haven't registered that with the city of Austin, that's going to hold up your payment, because the city has to have the exact name that you're doing business under. So it's important that those little things like that we don't want to hold up your paycheck because, you just you forgot to put the DBA in your registration. So just make sure you're taking care of both sides, and also running the business. It's important. They both are very important.
Thank you a lot for that, Elton. Sandra, what is one of the biggest mistakes that you see people make in the certification process?
Sure. One of the mistakes that I see is people get overwhelmed with the documents, and they don't finish the application process. So we send a QA, which is a question. Once we get your application, we review it, we do some research, and if there's anything that's missing or any clarification, send out a QA. And the QA has a timeline of a month. So people mistakenly think if they don't have a certain document that they just shouldn't apply. And that's not the case at all. Go ahead and submit your application, submit the documents that you have. And if there's anything missing, we will reach out to you, and we give you ample enough time to gather those documents. Like I said, the first QA we send is for 30 days. And if you need an extension, we give extensions 2 weeks at a time. So say you give us some of the documents on the first QA that we have, and then you need some more time to go out and get some other documents. You can simply request an extension on your application timeline, so we can keep that application going and we don't have to close it out and have you start all over again. So a big mistake is just not submitting the application because they don't have everything right away, or they're not sure what to submit in that spot. So that's why I always like to say, give us a call. Let us know what you have. Discuss the documents that you don't have. Make sure first that they're mandatory, and then find out the time frame that we give you to get those documents gathered and submit them. So we really hate for somebody to have the application process all over, because after 30 days of not completing the application, that application goes away. But if you submit it and you have a few documents missing, we can always request those and give you more time to submit them.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Sandra and Breve. Quickly, if there was one mistake that you see people commonly make in the certification process, what would that be?
So I can't speak to certification, but with registration and vendor accounts, one of the biggest mistakes that's been mentioned a little bit already is not keeping the information up. A lot of new businesses will start as sole proprietorships, for instance, and then later change as their business grows. The city needs to know that as soon as possible so that if you have any contracts or orders, those can be updated. And like Elton said, your payments don't get delayed or there's no issues because we didn't have the right info. So just keeping that info up to date, keeping that communication with us will save a lot of headaches later on.
Good deal. Thank you for that information. I'll say this just from the position that I'm sitting in. What I heard today was that it's very, very important to make sure that your codes, both your NIGP codes, match not only your business and what you do, but the most commonly ones used in the industry that you're in. Also, what I heard today is that you don't have to be perfect to get certified. Your company doesn't have to be whistle clean. You can have maybe a missing document, or you might be able to a document not being present and still get certified. I also heard that there's a lot of gaps off in this process, that there is no mentor-menteeship, that there is no hand-holding through the bid process. But there are some things that could kind of mitigate that. That being searching past won contracts and seeing how those bids were, price was on those, and maybe using that as a guideline for you in the future. I also heard that there is some third-party companies or organizations that sometimes do some of this work, and I think that Mr. Price is gonna get with us on some of those third-party organizations that might be able to assist in walking you through the bidding process. Keeping your records as current as possible with the city is important. First and foremost, so that you can be contacted during the bidding process. And second of all, you want to get paid. And so if your records aren't current, that'll hold up you getting paid. If there's anything that I missed at this time, anybody else heard anything else or want to share what they got from this session, now's a good time to do it. And you can do it through the chat, or you can just simply unmute yourself and kind of fall in line with us and give us what you received from the session today.
Thank you, Bill. That was a great recap.
Good
Yeah, I
deal.
just want to hop on and show my face and say, God bless you, SMBR team, Miss Sandra, Elton, Reve, like just really delighted and a pleasure to have y'all just walk with us on this journey and expose us to this information and just allow us to discuss significant issues with you. So thank you. Thank you, Bill, for facilitating this. And I'm just going to keep putting your information in the chat, Miss Sandra, so people can reach out to you. And then my information as well, if y'all need someone to help you find today.
Good deal. Thank you, Tyra. She's phenomenal. Again, I can't stress this enough. Save the chat. There are a lot of excellent links in the chat with a lot of valuable information. And also, Sandra, is this presentation available? Did you put a link to this presentation, or is it some?
We can email it.
Okay, so maybe if you email it to if you give it to Tyra, everybody who's registered for this event that didn't just click the link, but make sure that you actually register for the event. And Tyra, can you again put the registration link in the chat so that anybody who's on here that didn't register can register, and that way you will get an email letting you know when this recording will be available, and you can also have the presentation that Sandra presented. Thank you, Tyra. So if you save the chat, or if you go in the chat right now, you can click the registration link, register for this event, and then you'll get all of the updates and all of the promised information that we have to go and dig up and all of that. You'll get access to all of that. So save the chat, save the chat. Thank you guys for spending your evening with us. Again, Tyra, can you come back on and please walk us through the next Black Business Rising events?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, shout out to the elite group that's still hanging on. It's almost 8. Shout out to y'all. That's what makes you great. Coming in, getting the information and applying it. So tomorrow, the last session we have for the Black Businesses Rising, the road to creating, we'll have us tomorrow from 6 to 8. It's virtual. And the session title is Who Decides Who Gets City Dollars and How Can I Be Down? So I'll be facilitating that one. And we have a slew of, we have 3 presenters, Curtis Moeller with PTAC, that's the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. He's on the state and federal level to help with procurement conversations. We also have Miss Joni Foster, who's with the EGBI, the Economic Growth Business Incubator, EGBI. They're kind of outliers. She's not specifically a city agency, but they do help businesses start, scale, and grow. She's phenomenal. So she'll be on here talking about proposals. And then we'll have Jermaine Anderson from the City of Austin's Procurement Department presenting tomorrow. And then we'll have about 8 panelists along with those 3 presenters to help answer questions about how can I get into the mix, get these dollars? What does it all mean? So hopefully we'll see y'all tomorrow from 6 to 8, and I will be facilitating that session.
Good deal. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you guys tomorrow. And I hope that if you missed any of the Black Business Rising events, most of them, maybe save the in-person ones, will be available, and you can contact us and we can kind of point you in the right direction with that. If there's no more questions, I just want to give you guys all of my thanks for sticking with us and coming to join us today. Hopefully you got something out of it. Save the chat, use the information. Me, but thanks you guys. Thanks and good night.
Thank you for having us. Have a good evening.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.